Thanks for staying with NDTV. It's a packed Tuesday here at India Global. I'm Arjun Samad Mahindran, and here are the headlines. NSA Doval meets Chinese Foreign Minister Wang. Asian giants look to reset ties and build up to PM Modi's upcoming SAO China visit. External Affairs Minister Jaishankar to embark on three-day visit to Moscow for further strengthening time-tested India-Russia partnership. Two Sikh elderly assaulted by teenagers in racist attack in UK's Wolverhampton. Graphic footage from incident goes viral. Sikh community demands justice. Washington continues crackdown on international students. Team Trump revokes over 6,000 visas in latest blow. And a surprise phone call, a possible face-to-face between Putin and Zelensky, and a major US security deal on the table. We decode what's next for the Ukraine peace talks. We shift our focus to New Delhi to begin this Tuesday edition of India Global, where in yet another step taken towards strengthening Sino-Indian ties, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang has met with NSA Ajit Doval in the national capital, Delhi, today. Now, during this meeting, NSA Doval said, and I'm quoting here, there has been an upward trend. Borders have been quiet. There has been peace and tranquility. Now, earlier, in a major diplomatic push, External Affairs Minister Jaishankar told his Chinese counterpart that the de-escalation process at the line of actual control must move forward. On the second day of his visit to New Delhi, details are emerging, in fact, of the two sides working together more closely than we have seen in the years. Now, according to sources, Mr. Wang has assured External Affairs Minister Jaishankar that Beijing will in fact address India's requirements for fertilizers, rare earths and also tunnel boring machines. Now, rare earth elements are critical for manufacturing high-tech products, be it smartphones, electronic vehicle batteries and also advanced military equipment due to their unique magnetic and conductive properties. Now, their scarcity, viewers, and concentrated production primarily by China, around 90%. That too makes them strategically vital for global technology and energy transitions. My colleague Mohammed Ghazali joins us for the latest on this. But before, listen in to what NSA Doval said during the high-level meet.
I'm very happy that since then, in the last about 9 months, there has been an upward trend. Borders have been quiet. There have been peace and tranquility. Our bilateral engagements have been more substantial. And we are most grateful to our leaders who, in Kazan, in October last, were able to set a new trend. And we have profited a lot since then. The new environment that has been created has helped us in moving ahead in the various areas that we were working on. This is the 75th year of our diplomatic relations, and it's a time to celebrate.
Mr. Doval, I'm very happy to meet you in New Delhi for this round of talks between the special representatives of China and India on the boundary question. The setbacks we experienced in the past few years were not in the interests of the people of our two countries. And then in October last year, President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Modi had an important meeting in Kazan. That meeting pointed the direction for the development of our bilateral relations and provided impetus for the proper settlement of the boundary question.
My colleague Mohammed Ghazali, who's been tracking these developments closely, in fact, was present at this meeting between NSA Doval and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang, joins us for the latest. Ghazali, we heard both the leaders there. You were also present at the meeting. More importantly, how important is this meet, especially as a build-up to PM Modi's SCO visit later this month?
It is very significant because it is coming at a time when from now, just weeks from now, we'll have Prime Minister visiting China to attend the SCO Leaders Summit in Tianjin. And from there, he'll come back to the national capital of China to have a bilateral with Mr. Xi Jinping. Why it is significant? Two significant points. One, it is all happening amid the global shift in geopolitics with Mr. Trump threatening India to not buy oil from Russia. And he's also very upset with the BRICS member because idea was floated among the BRICS member for de-dollarization, which India has categorically rejected the idea, saying that they're not in favor of that. Yet Mr. Trump is upset with the BRICS member. He's also upset with India for purchasing oil from Russia. And amid all this, Indian Prime Minister continues to maintain its relations, or India's diplomacy is focusing to establish its relation and continue its relations with all the countries, be it China. We are seeing improvement in relations with China, resuming the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, India reciprocating with issuing visas to Chinese nationals after 5 or 6 years. And now there are serious talks going on between Mr. Doval, the special representative for border level talks, with his counterpart, Mr. Wang. The friction points along the border is something which both the parties agree is not in the interest of both the countries. And that is why these talks will suggest whether China will adopt a de-escalation, because India is approaching this entire issue of border dispute on 3D formula: de-escalation, disengagement. Now, disengagement has happened last year in October when on the sidelines of Kazan summit, this was declared by Indian Prime Minister Mr. Modi and Chinese President Mr. Xi. Now is the time for de-escalation. So that is why this meeting is very important, very significant. It also sends out a message to US that India still enjoys good relations with its neighbor as well.
Right. Well, thank you so much for putting these developments into perspective, Ghazali. Now, moving on from China to Russia, where External Affairs Minister Jaishankar is headed to Moscow for a high-stakes 3-day diplomatic visit. In fact, on the 20th of August, Jaishankar will address the Indian-Russia Business Forum meeting from Moscow. He'll also meet his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, on the 21st of August, the following day, in fact, to discuss bilateral issues, trade, defense, and even global geopolitics at that. Now, the trip follows a series, in fact, of high-level India-Russia meetings. This also included NSA Ajit Doval's recent talks with President Vladimir Putin himself. The two nations are expected, furthermore, to finalize details of Putin's very important upcoming visit to India later this year. Now, energy will be high on the agenda as well. This as India continues to buy discounted Russian oil despite rising Washington pressure and new tariffs as well. New Delhi has defended its choices, citing national interests and market dynamics. Jaishankar will also co-chair the India-Russia Intergovernmental Commission and may also, in fact, meet President Putin during his visit. Now we shift our focus to the UK, where two elderly Sikh taxi viewers were viciously attacked in a shooting daylight assault by suspects outside the Wolverhampton train station. And the Sikh community, in fact, is demanding answers now. Video of that incident, as you see on your screens right there, very graphic video, in fact, shows one man lying on the ground without his turban as a group of white teens repeatedly kick and punch both the victims. Now, this brutal attack happened Friday afternoon, but the cops reportedly spoke to the victims only after 48 hours, that is 2 days later after this video went viral. Now, both men, long-time UK residents themselves, were working outside the station when the group demanded a ride. Now, after being told to use the official taxi rank, the teens responded with abuse, then violence. One victim has broken ribs and serious injuries. The suspects, aged 17, 19 and 25, were briefly arrested but bailed pending further inquiries. Meanwhile, the Sikh community has called it a racially and a religiously motivated hate crime. Not only this, they're also slamming the government and police for the delayed response and warning, in fact, that rising anti-Sikh hate is being ignored in the UK. It's time we slip into a short break, but much more on the other side. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching India Global. We shift our focus Far East, where it could be a turning point, in fact, in the Ukraine war and the ongoing grinding Ukraine war. Viewers, a surprise phone call, a possible face-to-face between Putin and Zelensky, and a major US security deal on the table. What's next? We break it down. Take a look at this report.
A major breakthrough could be on the horizon in the war between Russia and Ukraine. US President Donald Trump says he's working to arrange a direct meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The first since the war began over 3 years ago. In fact, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz has also shared a tentative timeline.
Treffen zwischen dem russischen Präsidenten und dem ukrainischen Präsidenten innerhalb der nächsten 2 Wochen geben wird. Dieses Treffen soll an einem Ort stattfinden, der noch vereinbart werden muss. Präsident Trump hat sich bereit erklärt, danach erneut zu einem Dreiertreffen einzuladen, sodass die Verhandlungen jetzt wirklich aufgenommen werden können.
The news came after a surprise summit at the White House where Zelensky met with Trump and 7 top European leaders. The talks focused on one goal: ending the war. Trump spoke to Putin from the Oval Office during the summit. A photo released by the White House shows the call in action, with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance alongside him. But tensions remain sky high. Just hours before the summit, deadly Russian missile strikes hit Ukrainian cities, killing at least 10. Zelensky says it's proof that Ukraine still needs serious protection, and fast. That's where the US comes in. President Trump pledged to build out new security guarantees, including $90 billion in American weapons and US-backed drone production inside Ukraine.
Президент Сполучених Штатів Америки підтримав трьохсторонню зустріч на рівні лідерів Україна, Америка, Росія. І Сполучені Штати Америки пропонують її провести якомога швидше. Але для цього потрібно погодження усіх сторін.
If Putin agrees to meet, it could open the door to a landmark trilateral summit. Trump, Zelensky and Putin, all at the same table. It's far from certain, but for the first time since the war began back in 2022, serious diplomacy is back in motion.
1 year and a half.
Bureau Report, NDTV
for
World.
Trilateral, as President said, this is a good signal about trilateral. I think this is very good.
Well, all eyes are now on that possible trilateral Putin-Zelensky meeting. Meanwhile, my colleague Priyanka Deo joins us straight from Chicago to shed more light on these recent developments. Priyanka, given Trump's announcement of a Putin-Zelensky meeting, how much groundwork exactly do you think has been laid? And is there any indication at all, Priyanka, that the Kremlin is truly on board?
When we're talking about groundwork, Trump has actually taken the lead in organizing the meeting, right? He publicly announced a forthcoming trilateral summit that involves Putin, Zelensky, and himself. And he's also aimed at bypassing slow burn diplomacy over here and forcing a peace mechanism closer to reality. Now, Ukraine is receptive. That's why the meeting was very strong. Zelensky has signaled readiness to meet without preconditions, acknowledging the need for direct dialogue to resolve the conflict. European allies are also backing the move, but with safeguards. Now, leaders like Macron and Starmer support US-led security guarantees, right? Though they emphasize respect for territorial integrity. At the same time, Russia remains non-committal. The Kremlin has not officially confirmed participation. Now, while Trump reportedly discussed terms over a 40-minute call with Putin, the lack of Moscow's confirmation means groundwork is still conditional at best, right? There's no end in sight just yet. But in summary, I think that Trump is actively laying diplomatic groundwork and effectively doing this because Ukraine and Europe are on board with conditions, of course, but Russia's silence means true commitment remains unclear at this time.
Well, thank you so much for getting us the latest there, Priyanka. We shift gears but remain with Washington, where in a move sparking global concerns, viewer, especially in India this time, the US State Department has revoked over 6,000 international student visas. Now, this comes just days before the start of the academic year. Now, according to Western media reports, nearly 4,000 visas were cancelled due to violations of US laws. This included overstays, driving under influence, and even burglaries. That's what the State Department is claiming. Now, shockingly enough, up to 300 visas were revoked for alleged ties to terrorist activity under US immigration law. The crackdown comes as President Trump tightens control on foreign students, targeting immigration and university policies alike. Now, since January, in fact, his administration has constantly and repeatedly enforced social media vetting, paused visa interviews, and even threatened deportations for students involved in pro-Palestinian protest, viewers. Now, India, which sends over 200,000 students to the US annually, could be one of the worst hit countries. In fact, many Indian students might even get stranded there. They might be unsure if they'll be able to even join their classes on time or not. Now, with over $43 billion, that's big money, by the way, in annual contributions, foreign students are vital to the US education system. But growing visa uncertainty is now, in fact, putting futures at risk. And how? My colleague Vishal Vivek joins us for more on this. Vishal, Indian students, how are Indian students in the US reacting to this sudden crackdown? And if you could just put the timeline of these crackdowns in perspective for the advantage of our viewers here.
Well, it all started with those anti-Semitic, quote-unquote anti-Semitic protests in the US, against which the US administration has been acting on for the last 1 year or so. It has rounded up thousands of students, arrested thousands of students, and the same reason has probably been given by the Department of Homeland Security when it has taken such a huge action and revoked about 6,000 visas, out of which 4,000 have been revoked due to various reasons such as assault charges, such as battery, such as burglary. So these are some of the charges that the DHS has listed. But what is interesting to be seen is that 200 to 300 visas have been revoked for support for terrorism. What does that exactly mean? The DHS has not mentioned. It has just said that 200 to 300 visas have been revoked due to support for terrorism. So many experts have assumed that due to prior action of the US administration, it is safe to conclude that these visas were revoked because these students could have participated in those protests that spanned across the US in the last 1 year or so in the wake of the Israel-Hamas war.
So, very important point you in fact raised there. Very quickly, we're running out of time here. What are the likely long-term implications of this Trump admin decision?
Well, it's safe to assume that out of the 6,000 affected here, the majority could be from the Asian continent, Indians, Chinese, people who go to the US to study, because majority of them do belong to the Asian continent. So these people will be affected. The DHS has not segregated as to how many people from each of these countries have been affected, but as I mentioned, it will be Indians who will be at the top of the list of the affected.
Thank you so much for putting the developments in perspective there, Vishal. Now, viewers, in a heartwarming video from the land down under, it's going viral. Now, this as an Indian origin mailman saved a woman's laundry from heavy rain, in fact, carefully folding and drying it. Now, this touching act caught the eye of Bollywood star Priyanka Chopra as well, who shared the video online. It's a beautiful reminder that small acts of kindness can, in fact, across borders, and they can inspire millions. We leave you with these very amazing visuals.
So, I thought this was really odd. So, get my delivery. When I got home, I didn't just find my delivery. I found our washing, because it started to rain. How's that for service? He's a good man.